Library. Look at that, you just.
Don't go back.
Move, don't move. All right,
It's recording.
it's recording.
There you go. Okay, it was because where it was. Didn't have anybody on camera.
You talk louder.
Yeah, I did a whole place.
Right, that's how everybody gets online.
I-
So it's fairness to whoever's talking.
Oh, no, it's not like that thing on the wall.
Yeah, we're gonna put that one. They all like it.
Great.
Yeah.
Waiting for it to stop then. We're recording. Yeah, you guys can start.
Are we good? Okay, well, let's convene the first Public Works Committee meeting of the new year. And welcome to our new council members that are new to the committee, Richard. And let's just start off. We are at 3:30. It's January 26th. We're at the Public Works, the wastewater collection building, and I'm joined by two of our staffers at Public Works. Nate Tingle and Ricky, as we call him. And I'll introduce them a bit later, and we'll discuss some of the first things. Now, the number one thing, obviously, we had Mr. Tim Hippensteel, who was going to be our project manager at Public Works, and for personal reasons, he had to leave the city of Ocean Shores, both the city and he moved, I believe, back to Astoria, Oregon. So that leaves us down a key component of what we need to move a long list of projects forward. But we are still trying to move fast forward as best we can with like the limited staff. We have Anne Reese from Rock Project Management here with us. She's really helping with that process, but her list has grown quite lengthy in some ways of things that we need to do. And in addition to that, we are doing interviews for a new project manager, and we have some promising leads. So hopefully this process will not take as long as it did. As you know, we looked for a public works director for almost an entire year. Robert Lund filled in more than adequately as our acting public works director, and he was absolutely amazing. But he left the city for to pursue a career where he would be more involved in this work and less involved in public policy and debate. So he is now with the state, and it's a fair way of saving it. And with that, I have a number of items that I'm going to go through. But before I begin my sort of the items trail and brown crosswalks, I would like to turn over to Anne to see. Yes.
I have a personal question.
Yeah,
Did we hire a guy named Timothy Andrews,
Timothy Andrews, the name.
a planner or something?
No,
Somebody asked me that, and I said, I didn't know.
no, we do have a new planner, that's Christine. So that she works in the office there with Marshall, and with Amy Luna.
What was the name?
Timothy Andrews is Tim Hippensteel.
Oh, Timothy Andrews Hippensteel, that's his middle name.
That's his middle name.
That's okay. I forgot that. Yes, you're right. That is Timothy Andrews Hippensteel. That's his middle name.
Supposedly this person's missing. That's what I was told, you know, and I'm like, what?
Well, we know he left the city and I believe he went back to Oregon, so I don't know what, yeah. I don't know what that's about.
So you mentioned Christine as a
Okay.
planner,
She is new planner, yes.
so she's on an equal footing with Marshall or?
No, she is learning under Marshall, and I think the long-term succession plan is that she is in the position to possibly come our lead planner when Marshall leaves. Matt Marshall's been with the city for a number of years. I think he's going on to 25. So he's not gonna be doing this forever. In fact, I saw them just out on Point Ground just yesterday. Traipsing sort of through the mud, getting the hang of things, but I think the long-term hope is within a year, she will learn enough that if Marshall does step aside, we have an succession plan. So that's what we got.
But we're not anxious to lose him.
No, we're definitely not. He's
Mark, among a whole lot of rock stars, Marshall is another rock star.
and we are at that stage now where a lot of our senior people in public works who've been leading their, as crew chiefs for decades now are just getting to that point. John Wagner at some point is going to leave us. We know that Matt Hobart at some point from the water department is going to be leaving us. These people, I think Matt has been in the city for 35 years now.
Wow.
So there are going to be changes, and a whole new slew of young crew chiefs are going to come in. And here is one of them. So And James is another who replaced Mary down at, and oh, one of my goals before I just begin this is that I will try to bring one of the crew chiefs to each of these meetings that we're having, so you can become more familiar with the work that they're doing, more familiar with the intricacies of their department, and you can ask the kind of hands-on pertinent questions of them. They'll be in a better position to answer than I would be. So that's why they're here today. And next time we'll be John Wagner, or Jim Johnson, or we'll bring in someone who just can answer these. But tonight it's Ricky, and Ricky is the unusual player. It's like the chessboard piece, it can move in every direction, because he's really his own sort of department, but he substitutes himself into the various teams, or he joins the various teams to help them on their technical issues. So I'll let him tell a little bit more about what he did, but Ann, go ahead, please.
Okay, so a big part of what we were doing, really when Tim came in, we were transitioning as much of all of the ongoing and then supporting them in the project. So really right now, I'm just trying to jump back into more of a lead role and get caught up on any of the contacts and work that he had done, you know, from that initial transition and then coming back. So that said, some of the things that I'm working on right now on the active projects, I'm working on the SOQ in order to get an electrical engineer on board to design an electrical support for the new shed with the radio station. And I've talked with Jenny, and we actually want to make that a generic electrical design so that the next shed that they want, which will be for the outpost location, it's the same design. And then, you know, if another department, somebody probably works, if there's another shed that needs to go in and it needs to have power, we have the design. So we're trying to make that, you know, completely generic in that sense, so that we buy it one time and we can keep reusing it. I'm trying to think of some advantages to the city of Rick.
I was gonna ask a question, can we, get some bids on that and let an electrical contractor put that together?
We will be getting bids, but we have to get a design on it first.
For a heater and all?
The heat, right now for the radio station, it's more about coming off of the existing power for the
Right.
building. They're gonna have to rebalance the panel and reassign and have them rewire some of those breakers in that panel. So, you know, we looked into it. I wanted to go that route where we just bid out to the electrical companies. But it was decided that we were best served by having an electrical engineer do the design.
Okay,
They
that seems
did
like
it.
a lot of overkill to me, but
I agree, but it has to do with the RCW regulations on whether or not it would be classified as design build then, which is an alternative contracting method, and we don't meet the criteria to do that under RCW. So we Jenny and I explored every avenue of that as we could.
And I spoke to Jay about this afternoon. And
I've done quite a few service calls.
Yeah, well, and
That just seems like a lot of overkill, but anyway, go ahead with the rest of your.
I don't disagree, but you know, it's the rules we have to live with. Some of the other things that I'm working on are getting pricing to add rate studies to a couple of the current plans, studies that are being done, or, you know, there's a water system plan update that is with GNO. I'm looking at getting a price from them to add rate study. Also, wastewater master plan, same thing. We're looking at getting a rate study added to that one. And we're gonna be looking at doing a master plan on the fresh waterway, stormwater fresh waterway, and having a rate study done in conjunction with that as well, just to make sure that where we're at on billings is lining up and positioning the city for that long-term operation and maintenance of all of these systems going forward. You know, we heard a lot this year on the budget about, you know, changing the way so that it's smaller increments every year rather than, you know, a larger increment change. When everybody realizes that, you know, it's been a while since we did a rate increase or whatever. There are a number of projects that are coming up on the radar that I'm gonna be working with the different departments. So like in water, I'm gonna be working with Matt on hydrant replacements and hydrant flushing Hydrant flushing is all basically in-house, but, whether it's me or something transitioned to a new PM, that's got a whole, public notification process that goes with it. The hydrant replacements will be by contractor. It's basically design. Hydrants are already, available with the water department. We just want to coordinate that work if possible to go with the schedule on the hydrant flushing, so that that's got the least impact to the overall residents. There's some of the others that I'm currently trying to work on right now. Gonna be working with Nick on the, wastewater. He's got a project for doing siding and gutters. And I'm gonna be helping him out, with project management support on that.
And if you want to talk offline to get it all, we have phase 4.
Boy, got phase 4.
Yeah.
I've got to get upstairs, and I'm actually had that conversation with, Pat, and, I just need to get it out to each of the utility heads, chiefs,
Okay.
to review, and that's all we need to do, and get that back. He says it's not a critical time. thing.
No, he just didn't want to make sure, because I guess in the past it sat, so we just want to make sure when he's ready to go, we're ready.
Exactly. So those are the highlights of what I'm working on actively right now. There are a number of other projects. We want to get that next phase of Oyhut ditch rolling. And I'll work with Marshall, who's the resident expert on the HPA permits. Since Robin's gone, he was the resident expert, but so we want to get that one lined up so that hopefully next late summer, early fall, before the heavy rains start again. Hopefully that one can go, yes.
Boy, that ditch, what's the, work that you're looking at?
The next phase, as I recall, looking at it, it would be everything to the north of Shoal. Cleaning out the rest of the ditch up there, as well as doing, the culvert replacements. I believe the one at Arrow Lumber
Yeah,
is included, and I think there was gonna be at least one more, but I know that Arrow Lumber.
and the other one we need to check on is Mike, the one that Mike Doolittle was trying to permit and put in himself there
Right.
behind, what is it, Seahorse. So that's something else I'll have to look at.
So,
Mike Doolittle being the.
The owner
Oh,
of.
Yep,
so are those two separate phases or? in
no,
one
that,
phase?
that is all one phase, as I understand that design. From
Well,
what
that
I've
should
found.
pretty much been complete, the way that is.
Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
The only thing that I don't believe anybody has done is anything south of Arrow Lumber. It's not as overgrown between there and Chance. It's mostly just about tall grasses and everything, and that's okay. But then we have long culverts from Chance, or just north of Chance, all the way out to what's the name of the park right there, North End?
North Diagonal.
Yeah, and that's a whole different project altogether to do that outfall, as if that park project were to go through, so.
So from Arrow Lumber to Chance, then that's a separate.
I believe so, I'll have to go back in and recheck this design for this next one. I don't know if it's been included in any
And
phase.
then someplace right in that area is a collection basin. There isn't there, a sewer collection basin? Right at the end of that overhead ditch before. it
A
goes
sewer or a storm sewer?
to- Storm drain collection.
I think it might be that area just south of,
Wasn't that a project that Nick brought a couple of years ago about, I am this and that? and-
Well, there's a lot of projects that we brought forward that we didn't do anything on. Like,
right,
I mean, so even on this one, you know, we needed to take a look at that and we don't have any cost numbers. And we don't know how complicated or how easy that it could be with it. So we're in the exploratory part of
yeah,
what that's going to be.
So what would be helpful perhaps is at some point, if we can get a list, we the council can get a list of all of the projects that Anne's describing, because like.
Mhm. Sure.
We are gonna be bringing for the council an updated project list.
Yeah. And that's what I've been actually working, that's what I've been working on, we don't even pull out right now, but that's what I've been going through, is updating the project list, and And I just went through and made some changes, just last week, so. Okay, so there's that, we have questions for Ann. Ann, do you have anything else before?
No, those are the ones that are at the top of the list. There, I mean, if you can see, there's 2 pages of it here.
Yeah, that's the problem. The only problem with that particular list is that 11 by 17 pages. That it has.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
we might have to think about reformatting. this.
Well, and what I really want to do is reformat it for, you know, to separate out the public works in-house projects. The public works with support project, the in-house with support projects, so, and then the ones that are completely contracted out.
Let's have a discussion, and let's get that done, because I like that idea as well.
Yeah.
It makes things easier.
Yep,
And it's kind of, reports and stuff you produce and turn in the state.
but it varies based on what the
Yeah.
project scope is, for what we do, so, a good example would be the crack seal job. We were contracted to be 100% with the contractor on that one. So we've got, a daily reports and photos. That get uploaded, and then, like on the golf course project, I had a report that went with each of the monthly payouts. That just summarized what work was done. I am gonna, get a completion report that captures, you know, all of the data of, subcontractors. When they performed, what they performed, and they only have the 2 that most couple of days of the job. And then, you know, captures a summary on all the weather impacts, and then, you know, the information from the payout reports that went. As to what work got done.
Are you gonna be, okay, are you gonna be doing the hiking trail?
The hiking trail, right now, that's the plan as, public works project management support. But the CM is in the GNO contract. Because of the washed-out funding on it, the city doesn't get to outsource that one. So at least as long as I'm on it in a project manager role, I will make sure that we're getting reports either from GNO for whatever, you know, that job by washed-out standard requires a full-time CM on site. And then whatever special inspections are required. So with the paving, there'll be special inspection for the asphalt, and I'm not sure that we can get a perfect action out there, because it's not vehicular traffic, so.
Do you do the reports for the contractor draws and stuff? Do a percent complete?
Yeah, we would do the, in the case of GNO, I'll have to talk with them and see if they're planning on doing the pay estimates. But I did all of the ones, for, like on the golf course project, the contractor just did invoicing on the crack seal. So, but with the washed-out funding on the Dune Trail, that one definitely has to go more by the washed-out standards for CM. And I just have to get with GNO and see if they're putting somebody out here, or if they've got a sub-consultant they're gonna put out, or what that's gonna be, because we have to make sure that the washout standards are being met.
Right.
Yep,
Thanks.
absolutely.
Any other questions? Fran? Okay, then let's move on. So we have the Dunes Trail, obviously. I'm sure everyone is familiar with that by now, but our design consultant, Gray and Osborne. We had a conversation with them today about their tabulation of the bids. And we're gonna have to follow up on with another conversation with Gray and Osborne. But anyway, we are very, very excited, obviously, to finally get to the point where I think we're moving that project forward. Same thing with crosswalks. SPDA Alliance have already tabulated the bids and tabs and supporting documents have gone to the funding agency already for a final review. And then once the Washington State Transportation Improvement Board has stamped their approval, we will bring the lowest bidder to council and begin the process of putting crosswalks on the Yes, exactly.
So can you explain to me why that took so long to get that done?
There's a ton of things that have to go into it, and I mean, I know you know more about the crosswalks mechanisms than even I do.
I guess my question for you on that, in order to answer, are you referring to why it redid, or are you just?
No, well, that'd be good to know why it's redid, you know, but I mean, I'm just talking about from the time that we approved it till the day we get to bid, it's been, what, 2 years?
And it was, a lot of it was a consultant, the person that was heading, or our contact that was doing it, left the company. In,
That part is true.
Transition.
yeah,
That part's true. I mean, they didn't transition the company, they did, yeah, CJ Alliance, the person left. They didn't transition.
And then you lost Nick.
And then we lost, well, then Robert, so it's,
Yeah, there,
And Robert.
there's been staffing on both sides, and then also just the amount of time it took to do the public input process, and they had a lot of time.
Yeah, that was another one.
2 years was wrapped up in all of that.
Yeah.
Um,
And then Robert was doing permitting on multiple projects at the
Yeah.
same time. He was doing the permitting on the news trail, he was doing the permitting on the fire pit, he was doing, the permitting on the Whitehead ditch.
mhm,
All of those things are major permitting requirements that take,
yeah,
hours to pull. And then in addition to that, with one that I even haven't mentioned, is for the jetty repair. We still had to give all the title reports and all that, so that the feds will have access to that when the Army Corps of Infantry building it. So I mean, like, literally, he was doing about 35% of his job, was sitting there pulling title reports.
but still, the main reason was that our contractor dropped the ball.
I just want to show how much work the company was actually putting into so many different things.
Who's doing the permitting requests now? Is that Ann's purview or is that, who's making all these? Who's getting all of these permits?
Well, fortunately, right now, we're at a point where a lot of that work, and again, on the tsunami tower as well, we don't have a lot to get the pipe that we need permitting on, except when we begin doing a ditch.
right,
Then we'll have to go to that process, and that's a conversation we'll have to have as to how we go about doing that, because obviously that's a very time consuming thing. But right now, fortunately, for Robert left, most of the permitting on our major projects got done.
Okay, thank you.
It'll be good to move forward with some stuff.
Yeah, well, we have a bunch of things, including like, we have, and this is the process, but we're not doing that, that's more Tesla doing it. But we may have our Tesla supercharger station at the convention center. We will be breaking down on ground on High Trail. We will be putting down crosswalks on Point Brown. The Army Corps of Engineers is getting ready to start the jetty repair. And we just kind of completed it. I mean, we've done a bunch of things that have been done. It's not like the fire break, we'll be working on a maintenance plan for that. The fire break is not complete. These are like something that for 24 years sat and no one did anything, and it's completed.
right.
How far away, do you, project that they're actually starting to put new rocks on the jetty?
I think Mary had a conversation with
Is
Will.
it this year,
Oh, no, they're right now in environmental. And talking, I'm just getting right away. And then the Corps is on their own program. I mean, and the problem that we have is that we're actually not connected to it. It's actually the Corps going through the port benefiting us because it's the need for navigation is how we got it phrased.
Deeper draft.
so it could be 3 years before the first rock ever actually gets.
I just wouldn't commit until we're trying to get them to come out and have a conversation. With it, so we're working on it every time that I talk to the port commissioners. And I know that I call probably every 2 weeks to the Corps. The Corps has several different projects that are going to be going on in the area. And so as soon as I know. But if I said something, then people are gonna be disappointed because.
Yeah.
I haven't done it.
And it's completely beyond our control.
So I will tell you on the federal funding side, there's an expiration on it, and that's backing up from that date. So if you don't have that date, I would ask the Corps of Engineers when they have to have the project complete by for funding.
Okay, that's good.
And then we can start backing up from there, because I know the Corps of Engineers, that's their target. They have to be done by that date. There's no rush until then.
Okay, right. Okay. Next thing, the RFQ on aquatic vegetation management services. You are at the Fresh Waterways meeting, we sort of discussed this at length, and this is about, how does the city go about cleaning up our waterways, our parrot feather, penny wart. We have just finalized the RFQ for this. I believe it went out today or might go out tomorrow. I can't, but the deadline for the middle is February 21st. We will have that done. And that will help clean up a lot of the aquatic vegetation that sort of mitigates the ability to navigate our canals and pollutes it, and hopefully that will, we will get submitted requests in by February 21st. And then in addition, I'm sure you've all seen this on the city's website. If you haven't read through it, the North End Grand Canal Park draft master plan.
I just had a quick question on the aquatic vegetation. So if I understood Ann correctly, that in all of the updates for the plans, you're looking at rate studies, which would include how we take care of our freshwater waste potentially?
As I recall, in the budget discussions in 2022 for council, it was intended to start setting aside a specific amount from the stormwater funds for the freshwater waste. Did I remember that correctly? Okay, so yes, that is where we want to make sure we're getting that incorporated, because we obviously don't want to short the actual stormwater side on funding.
Sorry, Scott, I just.
No, go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, so we put, we authorized 110,000 or something for a water report, which I thought was the freshwater report that was gonna give us a plan on how to, what we needed to do to clean up the water.
Correct.
Okay, and so we got that, and what's the management services, tell me what the difference between those two are then. 'Cause it sounded like the same when we talked, pardon?
That's the spraying. The aquatic vegetation management plan.
That's the spraying.
Is the spray.
Yeah, yeah,
They did the IVMP.
Right,
And then they did the stormwater master plan. That's what the
that's
two
coming or
things that
that's done?
the IADMP is gonna be presented at the next city chat.
correct.
So if you
That
go to the next city chat, they're gonna bring forward the IADMP.
And I'm gonna get that booster club meeting changed because it's at the same time.
Then yeah,
Same day.
That's daytime next week, right?
Yeah, more fun.
Okay, so that cleared it
Yeah.
up.
okay, no problem.
I don't want to go, but there's been discussion about the Freshwater Corporation has a boat that cutters that they are trying to get involved in this. And does the city have a plan on working with the Water Corporation, the Water Advisory Board on cutting this, mowing the grass and the water and for trimming the weeds, cutting the weeds?
They have a plan for it, but we haven't planned.
Okay,
And then there are some concerns that we have from like I said, a liability standpoint about using a non-city boat. If it's deemed a sort of a city project, so that's a separate conversation. We'd have to have offline as to whether they're just going to kind of go out and do that, or if they're gonna do that cooperation with the city, because it changes depending on how that happens. So that's a conversation we'll have to have like at a different time.
okay, yeah, good, thank you.
Okay. All right, so on the North End Grand Canal Park, the only thing that I wanted to state is, obviously we need this report in order to go out and apply for funding to make this happen. This is not like an overnight thing where the city's gonna spend a bunch of money to do this. We're trying to get grants to make this a reality. But we will have a council meeting somewhere in the early spring, probably March. We will bring people from the watershed company, or the people who authorize or author this report, and they will come and do a presentation to council, just to get council up to date on where it is, what we're moving forward, what their ideas are for next steps. Giving a report on citizen feedback, because they did, I believe, 2, maybe even 3 different outreach groups to get citizen feedback, so they're gonna present that to the council. So that will take place sometime probably in March. And are there any questions on that? Okay, then if there are no questions.
Well, just sure, it's being recorded, that, systems keep coming up about how much money is slated. We keep talking about how much it's going to cost. Right now, there is no plan for the city
Right.
to invest any money into doing it. This was a project that was started way back when, COVID delayed stuff, so we're moving forward to finish it. But, I don't want anyone to think that we're going out for bid
No,
to do anything. This is just future may happen.
Yeah, and we have an east, and that's the, we may get a grant for one section of it, and we do that, and we may get a grant for that. This may be a 20-year project before it's actually realized, or maybe all of it never gets realized.
Right, but right now, it's from a city point of view, it's a low priority, but we've got other bigger things that we're.
We certainly.
So you're talking about the north? canal?
Yes,
Yes,
Okay.
Oh, you got people that want some of the parks fixed up here.
well, and that is,
And we block prize money for that.
yeah, absolutely,
And they want to see that done first.
and so it's getting done. I mean, that is getting done, and I know Chris Park, and it's all over. that.
right, no, it's just,
It's good to clarify.
yeah, people just say, well, why would you be spending all this money when you should be doing other stuff, and we are not.
These are all requirements. That's-
No, I know, I just want to make sure.
We're referred to
that
that.
They don't think that Scott's going to be working on.
Yeah.
Take care of it.
This
You have
is
to have a
what
plan
it
to do it.
is.
Right.
All right, so with that, Ricardo, why don't you talk about some of the folks for the, some of what you're working on with the.
So with the collection system, we're looking at doing the system integrations with all of our newer control equipment. A lot of that stuff has changed up on us. So the original part numbers, model numbers, everything, you name it, has changed because of the chip shortage. So they're moving into new part numbers and everything, and we're just trying to streamline that as best as we can, and schedule a meeting here soon with the whole specialist team that actually we have access to now because we renewed that tech connect agreement with Rockwell. So part of that is 24/7 support, and as well as a specialist team that covers, you know, the whole western side of Washington or whatever it would be. So we're gonna set up a time to come out and have a meeting here with them and go over, okay, well, this is our old part number and this will be our new one, you know, verify it with them. Just it's better when everyone's together and we can help with it. So, and once we have that, we'll start ordering equipment. We've ordered some already, just, you know, it hasn't changed. And we'll be moving forward with that. The VFD upgrades for the water system hasn't completely been looked at yet. That was something we just got an estimate for and threw it in, you know, and maybe next budget we get approved. You guys approve that, so first of all, thank you, and we'll get moving forward with that as soon as we can. I think that's right now, it's just kind of day to day and making sure that anything that breaks gets fixed as fast as it can be. So I've been pretty busy with, I guess, since that big freeze storm we had. With a lot of stuff, and actually, I think right now I just finished fixing the last thing, so, didn't know you needed circuit protectors on Ethernet devices, but apparently you do. That's right. Yeah, so that's just about it for me, just kind of providing support where I came in and day-to-day work mostly.
Council questions?
No.
Okay, that was fast.
Oh, actually, I did, so I didn't know if, I know some of that was still, few of the council members that came when we were walking through getting ready for the budget,
Mhm.
were still confused about the VFD.
Right,
So it's a variable frequency
I
drive.
think only one section.
Okay, and I did some math for, we just got that new distribution pump put in. Just out here for the water system, or booster pump, I think is what it was called on the paperwork. I did a rough estimate, I say that because human error. For the annual cost for the one that runs the soft start still, which costs about $7,500 annually, just in electricity. And this new one on VFD that we've just put in is roughly $3,800 a year to run, so that's a little over $3,000 annually in just energy savings, so.
Just better on your equipment,
Yeah, and looking forward to that. Still trying to find a contact at PUB, just to see if there's a possible energy efficiency incentive, that we could get in upgrading all of our soft starts to VFDs.
Do you know any of the commissioners?
You know, you might be able to talk to these guys.
Could you send me an email and
Okay.
I will talk to them on Monday.
Okay, and then, I'm not sure, I don't think you were involved with this distribution pump project. But we used electrical engineer with G and O, and I believe it was under the general services agreement that we, I'm not sure if that's still thing now. I'm not sure how long that term.
I'll double check with Penny, but I thought that one has expired and the
Okay.
only thing they were finishing up. That doesn't mean we can't do another one.
Yeah, and I know that was one of the main reasons we wanted to go with them based on the RFQ.
Right.
They were one of the few, I think the only one that applied or put in a bid that had, electrical engineer on it.
We've got 3 companies now who have given us SOQs that do electrical design. Gino, Trace West and Century West, I believe is the third one.
Okay, I just know, I think it was Mike Sweeney with, using for the distribution.
We can talk more about them.
Okay. Nick, I don't know if you want to start with the equipment we purchased, that council gave us money for, let's start there then.
You guys approved the backer truck that we asked for. We purchased that first thing of the year, January 1st, now we got a quote for it. We used the contract we had, so we didn't have to go out and get 3 quotes for it. We got the best one that fit our needs, that was manual, that didn't have all the gadgets on it that would go wrong in this kind of weather. So it's coming, I just contacted Blake today, he got emails for it. And it's getting done on August 21st. So it should be here like the first week of September. It could come earlier, that's just the end of time that we had, the latest it will be here, so. Next project is that valve building out there right behind you. That's where we keep all the sewer collection vehicles inside, if it lasts. I tried getting some quotes on it, I sent it to Jimmy today, and I was working on the scope of work for it. And I took, actually Ricky helped me too, but John Wagner had those buildings in the street department re-sided and re-roofed a couple of years back. And so I just kind of took that, so we can use the same metal, but I still need a product manager on that, so I went ahead and contacted Ann today that she would help me organize that and oversee that.
Are you reciting and roofing that?
Just the front of it, over the bay doors. The rest of all 3 sides are good, just the north side is all rusted where they cut it above the garage doors. And the gutters are no longer working at all. They fell off, rusted off. And it's starting to get back on the plywood in it and stuff, so we can get that done this summer. It shouldn't, I didn't think to do that. Big deal, but I do need a project manager, I guess, to oversee projects. Yes, that's about it for me. I know the golf course force main, I was talking to Sarah Biston on that, and she was looking ahead for grant money. She said there might be some grants out there that would help us pay for that. So that we can fix that failing force main under there. I haven't really heard back on that, so that's kind of where we are.
Okay. And I do know that John Wagner has already been in contact with Jenny as well with regards to pushing the street sweeper.
Yeah,
Talked to her about that today, so I think that's moving forward. But I want to let council know that the money that you graciously awarded to the Public Works Department, Public Works is being spent where you are moving forward on it.
So I have a question that I'm a little bit embarrassed to ask, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. So Nick, you are the crew chief for the wastewater,
sewer collection.
sewer collection.
Yes.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna say it is great to see some younger people in those leadership positions. So thanks and congratulations.
Thank you. And yes, that was by Marshall Reed. The planner, he was the old one, so.
Yes.
He kind of trained me in that.
So as I did, when Marshall leaving, then we had Barry leave, and James Johnson, that's latest.
So what I'm assuming is that you're ready to transition out.
Yeah.
It's a long time before he read it.
That,
Transition. Oh, okay.
budget was the vehicle, I think it was just a pickup truck that got approved for water for 35,000.
Okay.
Now, any gas powered truck is sold out on the government bid website. So, we're looking at either going used or rolling it over into another budget cycle to buy a new pickup truck.
Okay. I know, the delays are just phenomenal now.
Yeah,
Well, if you ordered it now, you should be should get it.
Can you find one for 35? That was my question.
Yeah, that's the other thing, so. yeah,
I don't think you can.
You can find a 1996, at 250 for about 30,000, so.
And at what point in time will gas vehicles, gas or diesel vehicles no longer be allowed to be purchased by
Yeah.
municipalities?
Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things that we're starting to look at
Right.
is getting a grant for a battery powered one.
Yeah.
Because there's no way our city will be able to buy one
And to
without grant money.
and to put charging station out
that's
here.
Yeah. I think there are 2 cities now already that have mandated only electric vehicles now.
I was in a water distribution manager classic in Howard, and can't remember what municipality it was. They had someone there at that class that was driving an EV.
Yeah,
I want to know what it's gonna take to maintain those, because that's gonna be astronomical
Yeah.
to the budget.
yeah, the batteries are expensive, but
Yeah.
I think Bremerton is in the process of converting as much as they can into electric. So they're not doing away with their fleet, but as they're replacing vehicles, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, the replacement model makes the most sense. But
Yeah.
I've seen that some cities have just passed these kind of draconian ordinances where it's like, you just have to do it. And, and I just don't know how they're gonna come up with funds to do that.
Yeah, not across the board, and you don't, even with EV, even without the same maintenance schedule, you don't want them to all be the same year, because, if you've got 10 vehicles,
Then all-
10 need batteries the same year,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, that's huge, but, if you have done a cycle replacement on it, you've only got a couple per year. then.
The thing I don't understand about this whole electric vehicle movement, I think it's great for the environment and everything. But where's the infrastructure to feed the electricity to charge all the batteries? And
We don't have it.
we don't have it. And so now we're gonna have all of these battery operated vehicles, and we're gonna have to pull them with horses.
Okay, the governor wants to blow up 2 or 3 of those dams that generate power on the Snake River, so we'll be fine.
Okay.
We need generation, we need transmission.
Yeah.
And we're getting a car in front of the.
And what people don't realize is what's the environmental impact of the disposal of all of those batteries?
Even just a mining.
Or the vehicle, I mean, there are companies that have fields and fields of whole cars with batteries sitting in them, just, out rusting, because there's nothing else they can do with them, nobody thought about.
And they're polluting the ground and
Exactly.
water.
Let's bring it back into things we can control here.
I get ready to go down the
No,
list.
no.
Let's get back to business.
Are there any questions for Nick before I let Nick and Ricky disappear and go home and enjoy their evenings? All right. Okay, gentlemen, go ahead, please. Thank you guys again. Two things with surplus. Sarah, do you want to talk a little bit about surplus?
Was just gonna let you guys know that John Wagner started the first round. We have not done surplus since 2019 due to COVID and people not being able to come on public works property to see vehicles and such. So it's gonna have to be done in a two-phase approach, which is done by resolution. We'll begin the publication, the required RCW publication for the first round in the next 2 weeks to be brought to the first meeting in February, and it'll be a packet. And really, that's just convention center stuff, household stuff. The second round will be vehicles and such, but he has to do this to try and get to those things. So that will be coming the first council meeting of February.
I'll turn over to the mayor.
Well, okay, so I guess I thought you were gonna cover, but one of the things that we're gonna do at the next meeting is that, with the radio transmission, the dollar amount that we're starting to get to is close to my signing authority, and there's a potential that we could go over. So if that's the case, it has to go before council. So the thing, my thinking is we should bring it to Public Works to take a look, so you guys can make a recommendation to council.
And the only reason I didn't mention that yet is because this is sitting right here. But I have a meeting with Jenny tomorrow about this, so I just was not prepared to speak about it this
Well,
evening.
no, I just want to give you a heads up because,
Okay.
yeah, you're gonna need to get up and it's not quite traditionally Public Works, but it's
a public works project.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's taking more time than I think a lot of the members like to see, but there's these provisions that we're not willing, and Jenny for sure is not willing to cut any corners to make somebody on a regular board happy, so.
Well, I just got the public work, if you guys can just dig into it and answer the questions to get there, and I just want to make sure that we do it right,
Right,
you know, because I don't want to sign something, oh, we did, we do it right. So anyway, so nothing to do right now.
I like you to use this for recommendations, and that'd be great.
Well, no, I think because it makes it easier, because it's, no, my thinking is if you guys understand it, you can explain it to the rest of the council. We're way ahead of them trying to present it, and it feels like it's rushed to get there, so I think that's it. Our number one priority, my number one priority for public works right now is staffing, you know, just to get that leadership, because obviously it's costing it, and doing a great job, it costs us more money when we use Ann. You know, but we'd like to have in-house, you know, unfortunately, Tim didn't work out. You know, so that's where we're at, but we do have, I think we have 2 applications, so we're working through the process.
When will you think you'll do interviews?
I believe soon, according to Dr. Christian today, I don't know. It could be, the first one could be as early as next week, so.
We're just working through it.
I was gonna say, is it through a headhunter?
Well, because the way that it works, because we got Tim through a headhunter, and when an employee doesn't work out at a headhunter, we still have a contract, so it's their responsibility to go get it.
But we got 2 applications, and I don't know why we didn't get them before, because they look very common. I don't know why they didn't apply before, but one's growing shores and.
Yeah, well, and some of it, you know, the economy's changing a little
Yeah.
bit, you know, so. And sometimes it's just, maybe they didn't know about it.
That,
I mean,
that's what I'm wondering.
yeah, so anyway, so number one, to me, number one priority for me is public works is to get that staffing level up. We are also getting ready to start hiring, or getting ready to hire for the summer for the part-time. And which we've struggled, but we've gotten more inquiries than we've had in the past. So that would make a big difference on our ability to just maintain like mowing and things like that. So we're focused on that. And then as a mayor, my number one priority is to complete our current projects. I'm not really looking at taking any new major projects down or really look at funding unless we stumble into something that makes sense, because we have, you know, the hiking trail, just working on the waterways, just the day-to-day operations, and we've got our hands full. You know, we still don't know what direction we're going with the Stomach Tower, so that's still hanging out there. You know, and you know, so you know, and it's up to you guys as, you know, council if there's possible, but as public works, if there's some other things that you would like to see us look at. I mean,
Capital facility plan.
capital, that's up, well, that's on my list, that is a priority for me, because that's more of a, that doesn't actually take us any more time for my reasons that because we'll be outsourced. I have been reaching out to other cities to get some names, places, and one of the things that we just kind of we're working on trying to get an RFP and what that scope is going to be. Because I'm hearing a lot of different varieties of the cost and what they got back. And so that's, I mean, we'll probably before when we start working on the scope, we'll probably bounce it up to you guys.
Did anybody refer you to the one that Grace Harbor County just put out and award, in the process of awarding, as well as City of Alma
I did not talk to Elma, I did talk
to the county?
to the county. But Elma will be a good one, so
Yeah.
I'll reach out to them.
And when they just, didn't you tell me about that? They just put out the bid?
Yeah, I can't work on
Right.
it, as far as, you know, putting together a package. because
Right, right.
Rock wants to bid on it, but we bid on, Grace Harbor County and, Elma.
Okay.
And got both of those, so.
Okay, all right, so anyway, yeah,
That's why I'm familiar with what they're.
yeah, so that is, that to me is a priority, because that helps set what we need to do. So like they were talking about, fixing the building there. You know,
Right.
we start, we have some old stuff out there.
Absolutely. Well, even buildings that everybody's in over on, whatever, Menard and I don't know, is that Shoal on that side of the street or a different name on that? Anchor, okay.
Richard?
So I have a project that I think would be relatively inexpensive and very worthwhile. And that's our porta potties on our Ocean Beach accesses. I think there's four of them, Ocean Lake Way and Flores, Chance, and there's one I never remember the name of. But what my vision is that we build a cement deck that's ADA compliant, that's higher than the king tide flood that goes down those streets, and put the porta potties fastened to that deck so that they're available year round rather than just in the summertime, because most of them disappear in the wintertime because of the winds and the king tides. And I'm just trying to plant a seed. I'm not saying that's a project we should jump on, but if there is budget money left, I don't know what that would cost, but it's my vision is it should be a relatively inexpensive thing. And because people still go to the beach in the wintertime.
Best time to do it.
And then this is not with the public works, but as a council person, one of the things that I would also like to plant a seed on is that we start looking at a professional to rewrite our city codes, starting probably with the zoning codes. I think that our whole codes are so convoluted and complex, but can we?
Well, that's
That's a good discussion for our retreat.
Yeah.
Yeah, as much as that, yeah.
Today I just trying to plant the seed.
So question, the downtown improvement plan, are we budgeted, is that gonna come through Public Works or will that stay with?
It probably will, that originally my hope was that we were going to get the funding, to use the University of Washington to do that.
Sea grant.
Yeah, Sea grant, we weren't accepted with it, so we need to go back out and look and get a scope and what does that look like with it, so that is on our list.
Will that
Well, yeah,
Public Works go, or will that go with Marshall the plan?
I would like to ask that the Public Works Department could have at least some ideas and we share what we think for this design.
yeah,
You
no.
know, not just give it to somebody and have them draw something.
Oh, no, that's not how it would work. It would be public outreach, council, you know, they talk to businesses, what do you think, and they put there, and, yeah.
Planning commission should really be involved, but it would be really nice if you did have a ad hoc committee made up of maybe 3 council that doesn't vote, but is there with the process.
Well, no,
And we can report back.
No,
No?
we would, well, no, yeah,
Okay.
we will not hire somebody who sits in Seattle and writes to go, well, this is what it is. I mean, because Ocean Shores is unique.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of challenges that we would have, funding would be a big issue with it, but yeah, no, so it would be a holistic approach.
The first time that sidewalk thing came around,
Yeah,
it's just
no,
out of control, I think.
So on the downtown revitalization, you know, and I've been hearing this for most of the 6 years plus that I've lived here. And this is not the forum for this discussion, but just in broad strokes, what are other people's vision of what that revitalization would look like? In my mind, I'm seeing that we have all of these downtown businesses on 20 Brown that are varying distances from the street right of way. And to me, that seems like the first problem to resolve in any revitalization. Otherwise, it's just simply painting new facades on, you know.
I think we'll get to that. My question, I was just, because we're talking Public Works, I didn't know if this would task would come to Public Works or not. I think when we get to that task, we'll talk about that.
of our ad hoc or committees, public works would make the most sense, because finances is finance.
Yeah.
So no, that we, again, I speak for myself, but I think Scott's intention is to use this as a committee to bounce ideas off.
Awesome, cool. Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
And like I said, I realize this is not the right forum. I just, in a 2-sentence broad stroke, what are other people's visions? Because I have a hard time thinking about it, saying, gee, the big
No,
problem.
well, no, and it all goes to the problem we have with the downtown, it was that there was never standards built.
Right.
You know, to do that, I mean, we wouldn't, I mean, most towns start with the site.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's some really good path forwards on this, and I think we can cover
Pass forward.
path forward. I think there's some really good paths we can take in working with the businesses, but my question was purely as to where the mayor envisioned maybe this.
And I cited that.
I-
Recognize
But as you know, the biggest challenge we have is to get citizen involvement. And
Absolutely.
then with getting the citizen involvement, getting a path, what do we do next?
And there are some very strong opinions about it out there, and they might as well be on the moon, Mars, Jupiter, and here on Ocean Shores. They're that far apart on what people envision.
Right, so again, we'll do it, and I am very clear as the mayor that to get anything done in Ocean Shore, that you need to have public outreach.
Absolutely.
It might not be bad to put a few citizens on an ad hoc committee.
Oh, yeah, once we, yeah, I think that's how the whole thing.
And that would help.
And I'm assuming that this won't be maybe till next year. because-
Well, no, yeah, no, we've got other things in there, but you know, you have businesses, I mean, you have nonprofits, you would have. Very holistic.
Yep.
Thing, and see the way it come out, so. But again, I am very clear that, public outreach, and we'll get feedback, but eventually we'll come up with whatever direction, that's ultimately going to be the council will make that decision. But again, my number one focus, staffing, and then get our current projects done, and then also get back to focus on maintenance of the city, which would be mowing, you know, one of the things that I think is so far been a huge success, not all of it, run down winter, but we've had very little flooding. Since we've done the way I ditch, and we were very aggressive last summer of clearing out the drainage ditches, which impacted our mowing process, but I think that we're seeing great success so far. Now, I say that, we'll get a big storm and.
Right, exactly.
It's also-
Yeah.
Think you're saying.
We could call personnel.
Here? I thought it was in my four, but it didn't happen.
It's supposed to be really cool.
No, Grace Harbor Radio.
Okay.
Whether it's out here specifically.
So is there anything from this committee that you would like to see for me?
Well, I would like to throw one more seed out there, and that is a city project to pressure wash the frontages of the downtown businesses, the facades, the front store, the sidewalks.
So, but.
Private property.
Yeah, you're kind of, but one of the big challenges that we have is most of those businesses are owned by people that do not live in Ocean Shores. And the people that lease those sites don't have the same connection, you know, so somehow we have to tie in, and then we as a city can't go and start cleaning. I mean, so what it really would need is some type of a volunteer.
What happens
That runs suggested,
when you knock off all the siding on someone's building, then we're liable to put it back.
that runs that it suggested like at least a
And there's a
municipal
lot of
tax.
spots right in town.
We're happy to find people to donate, work space, work with others to, you know, just kind of beautify downtown and that, I think we actually started a discussion on that, and then COVID hit and everything just died.
I saw
When we
pictures.
discussed it with our-
Right, but that was more about giving grants. Because they
Yeah,
could-
giving the owners money to paint.
To endorse or advocate for that,
Yeah.
comply with
Yeah,
that. Is there a package the city can move forward?
You can buy it.
And so I'm asking the question.
I'm just thinking from a liability point of view.
And there's nothing in the budget for it. I mean, we would have to like read.
Well, and I don't even know, I'm assuming that the union would want to negotiate that. To do a project that.
I think what Mr. Brunstad had suggested about the whole idea of like a volunteer paint the town kind of thing, would probably be much more successful than anything the city can do.
You might be surprised how many people would show up for that.
No, yeah, no, I agree. You brought in 1,000 people.
Right.
The downside to doing something like that is it looks great for one season,
Yeah.
but none of the proper prep is done, and over the winter, it all goes back to peeling.
An annual event is extremely good.
And that's, the other problem too, is you
That
run
we need.
into, is that volunteers will struggle with property owners that should be maintaining their buildings that aren't, so why are we paying our volunteer hours to maintain somebody else's structure that has the funds to do it? Houses are different, but commercial businesses are tricky.
Yeah.
So challenges, but again, there's always possibility. So I'm not saying no, but one of the things we do need to get the business community to be more involved with whatever that vision is. I know Pat had said that, and then, Ron,
Right, Ron.
you know, so there's a possibility.
And my objective was to start the conversation and the business owners may cause it to dead end. But we, the city, have tried to initiate a good faith conversation. And unless we try.
Right, but just myself as the mayor, I think that we have to be cautious because we have to do basic things like mowing the lawn, keeping flooding from happening. And that if we start taking our staff and start focusing on things that the council has made as a priority and take that energy away, then other things will start.
I wasn't thinking staff, I was thinking a contract. So- And again, we're going down a rabbit hole, that I didn't intend to go down. Just want to put the idea out there and initiate a conversation.
Okay. So Brian, yeah, anything that you would.
Well, for this group, I'd like to see that, you know, we get a chance to look at things at the beginning of the projects and not be, here's what we've done, you guys have any questions?
Right.
Okay, I mean, that's what I'd like to see. You know, I think we would be able to supply some valuable input anyway. I mean, that's what I thought, Public Works Committee was about. Helping out with projects.
And I, as mayor, I can say that, because a lot of the projects we inherited, they were already down the road, but as we move forward, I mean, definitely a conversation with you guys of here's the grant that we're looking at, you know, that's why like the radio tower. I mean, I know it's kind of after the fact, but you know, I don't think most people understand what goes into it.
Sure.
You know, and to explain it, because the better that you guys understand whatever we're trying to do, easier my job is. You know, when I'm trying to explain.
Well, we can field a lot of calls.
Oh, no, and that's-
answer questions.
Yes, because you can run the interference and go, no, we talked about it. Instead of it's just the mayor trying to get things done, you know. So, yeah, no, that's my reason. Yeah. Yeah, the more that people know, the better it is.
The other thing that you and I talked about is, making this a public meeting.
Do you have heartburn for that?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, and I had a conversation with it, because this is a council committee.
Yeah.
Versus a board meeting, so it's a little bit different. And then and of course, physical space, is a lot different. I don't feel comfortable of opening the public works yard to anyone to come in, because we've got equipment, I mean, if you just
That
have,
makes sense.
you know, in there.
So locations.
You could do it via Zoom. I'm just thinking,
But
not for public comment, but for them to.
Yeah, we don't want.
well, but they're zooming. I mean,
Then why can't they
Yeah.
just watch the
They can
recording?
watch.
yeah, and so. You know, and to me, the.
You know, I mean, we're addressing the email we all got.
Well, no, I talked to the person, but, for the committees to me, for the committees to work, and this is when I was also on council, is that there needs to be some place that, and I'm not like behind it, but that I can talk to the council, you can talk to me about an idea that is not policy. I mean, because these committees are number one to look at things, but maybe come up with that half-baked idea. You know, but if we're always being second guessed on whatever idea that you may have, that it makes it really hard for us to move forward, because then, in my mind, that we become more,
Regulated, it's not.
regulated, more stagnant.
You have 50 people sitting around you yet again.
But you're gonna be posting it on.
I
that,
post
right?
all of these.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that, I guess that's my question is. If we're not allowing public comment, what's the difference at that point? Because we're still speaking out, they're still gonna watch it, they could still stymie it.
Well, and again, I know if I've got an audience,
Yeah.
that there's a different conversation. I mean, they might be recording with it, but I'm right now, I am more focused in what you have to say here, but if I've got an audience back there, am I going to be more focused on them? I mean, somehow I needed mayor, I need
That's a
where I can get a real feedback from what you as council members say. And because if you give me a good idea here, I might not take it, or bad, or whatever, I might not take it to the council, or I might change my direction for my staff because feedback I got, and we don't have the full council, so we can, yeah, we can be a lot more flexible.
If I may, from a contact and not a resident. This meeting, as much as a resident and being in this business, I would like to be able to participate. But from the perspective of what this meeting really is all about, this is a committee or whatever the name is, that is about the business of the city. And keeping the council informed as much and input about the business of the city as much as anything. So it's more about all of those civilian personnel job tasks and what they're doing, and then how that gets supported through contracting. Very, very different than the other committees that are about the business of the people of the city, the residents, and what the council and the city staff are doing for the residents. Very different perspective there as I see it from the professional perspective. As a resident perspective, I'll tell you, I would love to learn more, because I do that with several of the other cities. A very robust public works committee that's open to the public is Bremerton. But that really just focuses on all of those other projects for the residents of the city. I don't doubt that they do something that is closed to the public, similar to this here, to
Right.
talk about the business of the city. Makes perfectly good sense to me.
Yeah, because in my mind, if we open it to the public, when we can, then we're gonna be talking at a much higher level.
And they're gonna come to the city council meetings for their public comment if they don't.
Right, right,
Well, they do listen to the meeting.
Yeah,
yeah, right.
I just, to me, it didn't seem to make a difference. I mean, they get to watch it, or if they're sitting there watching it,
they can still get the
Yeah.
information.
that's not gonna change what I.
But but I do see people that react differently if you've got an audience.
That could be, with some cases, I guess.
We know Frank doesn't mince his words.
Well, no, and maybe maybe we could do say a hybrid, so for instance, if, we'll just use the example of the downtown redevelopment, but. You start here, and that would be one that would be open to everybody. Because it's a different thing. But if we're just,
What if we made it, oh, sorry, I didn't interrupt. So what if we made it so people could log on and Zoom and watch? I mean, keep it here in a smaller area.
I'm so confused at what is the point? What is the point of them logging on at the exact time or being able to see the recording?
They're gonna see it after the fact,
Yeah,
So what?
right?
But they have no input.
they don't have any input if they're here live either. There's no.
But I understand you're gonna get it online anyway, so they're gonna be able to watch the Zoom recording, correct?
I guess.
No, I meant,
I guess my point is, when does it stop? Because pretty soon it will be, well, now we're doing this, now we want these people to talk. Well, then this council member's gonna, well, you said no, but I watched these things evolve. It used to be finance committee wasn't recorded or anything. Then COVID happened, so now you're on Zoom, now we're gonna record it, now it'll never not be recorded, you see, like. So it's like, where do you guys decide on these different things where the buck stops?
No, I was fine with that. I was just saying that at this point, you're gonna have this recording online, so it doesn't matter if they show up or not. No, I meant not to, for me, it's okay to not have public be a participate, because they're gonna have the access to the video the next day or 2 days.
I definitely didn't want comment. There's no way.
But I think that's hard, like, that's a hard thing to say, no comment, like every board, every council, everything, the public gets to make a comment, so. We started off where, hey, you come to Public Works Committee, no comment, well, then you're gonna get outrage emails about not being able to make a
It's
comment.
no different than when we have our retreat. They can sit in on that, but they can't comment. That's how I see it.
My concept of this Public Works Committee or any other three-person council committee is we start off with a basic idea, my idea about pressure washing downtown as an example. And that's an idea I thought about. In fact, I presented it in an email a year or two ago. But that's the basic idea. And then this committee discussed the pros and cons of that. And then if there's a discussion that says, yeah, that has some merit, let's take it to city council or to the citizens and then have that broader discussion. If you start having that broad discussion at the nuclear level, it bogs down and stifles this conversation. And so I think the idea that this is on being recorded on Zoom and broadcast later, for people who want to be informed, can watch it at that time. But if there's a whole audience out here, I agree with John, that it changes how this conversation takes place. And it doesn't change it in a better way in general.
Could stymie, you might be afraid to say something that you wouldn't necessarily, because you don't want to come across as, oh, I didn't think about that, was a really stupid question.
Well, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
But Frank and I did talk about
You
that.
can email about it.
And that's the purpose of this level of committee meeting. It's a good suggestion, but I think when we examine all of the other factors, the negatives outweigh the positives.
And I think the fact that the video will be made available online is perfectly fine. They can email us if they have questions from what they heard.
Or we can,
Another-
comment and tell us what they think.
And I think
At
that's
the
valid.
council meeting, right?
They can watch the video and then they can email or call or whatever, each of us and say, you know, here's my thoughts on that meeting. So another thing I wanted to say about this meeting is what Frank said, but I want to add to, and that's kind of what John was talking about. The way that I have always approached problems is I think of all the permutations, or all of the things that could go right, all the things that can go wrong. And I'd like to throw them out there, not as I demand that you do this, but as, have we thought about this and is it worth further discussion? So sometimes whether it's a council meeting or this kind of a committee meeting, I'll throw an idea out there. And it's not necessarily that I think that it is the brightest idea on the planet. Is this idea worth considering? And then, as happens to me frequently in council, when I get the direction of the conversation, that, oh, well, I agree that the majority of conscientious, well-meaning council members, what that majority feels is probably absolutely the right decision. So even if I am not in agreement with that decision, I change my mind by the time that four of the council members said, this is the way to go. Okay, then I believe strongly in the democratic process and what honorable people, equitable people, I don't know what word I want there. Yeah, that's a good idea then.
Sarah, are we ready? to wrap
Yeah,
up?
based on this report, like if this recording is not amazing, is anybody gonna have heartburn if I try to schedule all these for the library
Yeah.
for the internet use?
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
yeah.
Cause I'm very concerned. that
Okay,
the-
if this recording is not good, we will try to move this.
Okay, nobody cares.
Just one thing before, just remember. We have 3 council members here because that we can have a discussion without having a quorum to make decisions. And that's why we have these committee meetings of 3 to vet stuff out.
And now let's hilariously find out if we can walk in the amateur.
Do you have a key?
The 5 o'clock meeting, and I don't believe you here.
You don't have a key?
I don't need the door gate, I know, the building is not gate. I don't think we can get it. It would be hilarious.
Not so much.
Yeah, so that's called meeting, thank you, everyone. Thanks,
Thank you.
council. Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, absolutely, okay.
Thought it was coming in.
Thanks for making it, you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the line, it's really hard to get.
Been a long time.
Yeah.
I think we can get a lot done.
I did.
Got a good group here.
Sorry about that.
They're real or not?
I could not see on this. Absolutely, you're right.